Despite being in the middle of a socio-economic crisis, and despite agreeing to its current border with Guyana since 1899, Venezuela has chosen to focus its attention on claiming 2/3 of Guyana. In this series, we'll look at the history of the border controversy, not propaganda and indoctrination. These are the cold, hard facts about the Guyana-Venezuela border controversy. The first Europeans to settle in Guyana were the Dutch, when they established a trading post in Pomeroon in 1581. The settlement did not last very long, and when the Spanish and Amerindian attacks drove the Dutch out of Pomeroon, they subsequently established the first European settlement in Essequibo, Kaikoverall, in 1616. When the British took control of Guyana in 1814 from the Dutch, the new colonists had a problem. You see, even though Essequibo had always been part of Guyana and under Dutch control, I repeat, Essequibo has always been under Dutch and then British control. The Spanish never settled or even attempted to settle Essequibo, but I digress. The western boundary with Venezuela had not been clearly defined. Enter Robert Schomburgk, a German botanist who was first commissioned by the British Royal Geographical Society in 1834 to map Guyana's interior. During his interior trips in Guyana between 1835 and 1839, Schomburgk witnessed many things. He witnessed Guyana's natural beauty, but he also heard some disturbing stories. For instance, he wrote in his book, 12 Views in the Interior of Guyana, about Brazilian slave hunters who crossed into Guyana, burned the Rupununi settlement on the Pirara River to the ground, and carried off members of the Makusi Amerindian tribe into slavery. Slavery in Brazil was not abolished until 1888. Under pressure to define Guyana's western borders and protect the Amerindian tribes, the British government itself commissioned Schomburgk in 1841. This time, he was tasked with marking the boundaries between British Guiana and Venezuela and Brazil. The German did just that, resulting in Schomburgk's line. And even though Schomburgk himself died in 1865, his line continued to play an important role in arbitrating boundaries between Guyana and its three neighbors, Venezuela, Brazil, and Suriname, for decades to come. Of course, the Venezuelans were not happy with the placement of the line on their boundary. Again, it must be emphasized that Venezuela has historically never had control of Essequibo. Despite this, when English-speaking settlers found gold in Cayuni, the dispute between the British and Venezuelans reached new heights in the 1870s and 1880s. In the next installment, we'll discuss the diplomatic crisis between Venezuela and Great Britain over the Guyana boundary and how the United States was dragged into the dispute leading up to the 1899 arbitral award.